Basic Skills 4. Starting with number 1. The directions tell us that we need to factor out a common factor of each expression. So what we want to do is we want to start breaking down these terms. Right? So 2 can't be broken down unless you do 2 times 1. But again, it doesn't help to multiply 2 times 1. So we're going to leave that 2 minus. We got to break down 6. 6 breaks down into 3 times 2. And then n cubed is just n times n times n. Okay, so these 2 terms, we look to see what do they have in common, right? There's our 2 terms there. And we see that they have 2's in common. So that's going to be our common factor. So we'll have 2 in parentheses. We pull out this 2, right? If we pull out the 2, we got to replace it with that 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus the 3 is left over, and then n times n, which is n cubed. Okay, and you can always check your work. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times negative 3n cubed is negative 6n cubed. You should always end up back with what you started when you check your work. Okay. And if you want to get really technical, we should write this in standard form, which would be in this way here. Now number 2, let's start breaking all these down. 9 breaks down into 3 times 3 times x, right? X squared breaks down into x times x. So we did this in blue. Let's do this in gold. 9x breaks down into, so here's our plus sign. 9 breaks down into 3 times x. And then let's break down. The last one is just a 3. 3 doesn't break down. We leave that there. So now amongst all these, we check to see what common terms we have. Remember that each one of these terms, so the blue, the gold, and the purple, need to have the term in order to consider it common. So here's 3, here's a 3, here's a 3. Now looking at the x's, we can't say that the x's are common because this here doesn't have an x for us. So x's are not in common. So what we do have in common is the 3's and whatever we have left over. So we didn't underline a 3. We didn't underline the 2 x's. X times x is x squared plus 3x plus, we remove that 3, so we replace it with a 1. And that is our final answer. Now number 3, we got to factor each of these completely, and it looks like they're all quadratics. We know that because they're all x squared. And we have different ways of factoring these. So for the first one here, we have to notice that we have 2 perfect squares being subtracted, right? So a difference of 2 squares. Whoa. So 16v squared. So 16 we can rewrite as 4 squared. V squared is just v squared minus 1 squared. Right? 1 squared is just 1. So if we really look at this, this is 4v squared minus 1 squared. So a difference of 2 squares tells us that we can write this as 4v plus 1 times 4v minus 1. And that's our final answer. If we distribute those out, it'll give us 16v squared minus 1. And remember that when you have the same 2 parentheses being multiplied to one another, one's positive, one's negative, that's what gets rid of that middle term. That's why we don't have a plus any number v in the middle there. Now looking at number 4. So number 4, we have all 3 terms there. We look at a. A is not equal to 1. A is equal to 9, so we got to take this and multiply it out to here first, right? We don't have any common factors. We don't have to worry about any common factors first. So 9 times 4 gives us 36, so this is going to turn into x squared minus 12r plus 36. Okay, and then we do our diamond method. Here's our diamond. It's an X. I don't know why they call it a diamond. 1 multiplies up to 36 and adds to negative 12. And that's going to be negative 6 times negative 6. All right, negative times a negative is a positive. And then that negative plus a negative is a negative. So we have x minus 6 times x minus 6. Now going back to that circle that we did in gold, we multiplied by 9, so we got to divide by 9 in this step here. Now when we simplify this, that negative 6 over 9, we got to reduce that. So this is going to be x minus 2/3. X minus 2/3. And then finally shoot these 3's out in front. We have the same exact thing there. So we're looking at 3x minus 2 squared. And this here is a perfect square trinomial. Now let's look at number 5. Number 5, we look at a, it's equal to 1. It is invisible 1 here. So we can go straight to doing the diamond method. 1 multiplies up to 7 and adds to 8. For some reason, this tends to be hard for students. Numbers that multiply up to 7, the only thing we have is 7 and 1. And then do those add up to 8. 7 plus 1 is 8. So our answer is x plus 7 and x plus 1. Number 6, we check to see if we have a common factor between 5, 26, and 24. We don't. So next thing we do, force a to be 1. So this turns into x squared plus 26, negative 24 times 5 gives us negative 120. Okay, now we got to do our diamond method. What two numbers multiplies up to negative 120 and adds to 26? The two numbers we're going to be looking for is 30 and negative 4. And checking that out, 30 times negative 4 gives us negative 120. 30 minus 4 gives us 26. So here we have x plus 30 times x minus 4. And again, that step up in the beginning, when we multiplied by that 5, we have to undo that here. So you have to divide by 5, divide by 5. This here reduces. 30 divided by 5 gives us 6. So this is x plus 6. This here, 4/5, does not reduce. So the 5 gets shot out in front. 5x minus 4. And that's our final answer. All right, number 7. So looking at these three numbers, we have a 4, we have a 40, and we have an 84. And for these three numbers, we do have a common factor. Right, so if we break this down, this is 4 times 1. Again, you don't really need the 4 times 1 there. Minus the 40r breaks down to 4 times 10 times r plus the 84 breaks down into 4 times 21. So looking for a common factor, each one of these has a 4. So we have 4 parentheses r squared minus 10r plus 21. Right, and I just wrote whatever's left over underneath. I brought that down. Okay, now looking at this inside of here, we got to do our diamond method. A is equal to 1, so we don't got to worry about multiplying anything before this step. So what multiplies up to 21 and adds to negative 10? We're looking at negative 7 and negative 3. Right, negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 7 plus negative 3 is negative 10. So our final answer here, 4 times r minus 7, r minus 3. And we box that up. Number 8 just falls along with the factoring that we've been doing. It's just you got to go one step further and state the, you have to solve them, which means you're finding the X intercepts. So first thing we do, go through the motions. Is there a common factor between 1, 7, and 10? No, there's not. Is A equal to 1? Yes, it is. So we can go straight to doing the diamond. 10, negative 7. 1 multiplies up to 10 and adds to negative 7. That's negative 5 and negative 2. So our factors are n minus 5, n minus 2. Now to solve these, we got to set these equal to 0. So we'll have n minus 5 equals 0, and n minus 2 equals 0. So if we're solving these out, add 5, we get n equals positive 5. That's one solution. Add 2, we get n equals positive 2 for our other solution. Number 9, solve each with the quadratic formula. So quadratic formula, I'm going to go ahead and write it down here, is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. So we're going to go ahead and label our a, b, c. So there's a, b is negative 3, and c is negative 1. And we're going to start plugging this in. So again, a is 2, b is negative 3, c is negative 1. And if it helps to make a key, a is 2, b is negative 3, that minus sign sticks with it, and c is negative 1. That minus sign sticks with it as well. So let's go ahead and start this off. So first thing, I'm going to bring this negative from the formula. Then we're going to plug in b. b is negative 3, plus or minus b, which is negative 3, minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. Okay, so then we're going to do a lot of simplifying here. Let's just start from the beginning. Negative 3, so negative times negative 3, that gives us a positive 3. So 3 plus or minus the square root. So negative 3 squared, I'm looking at this here, gives us 9. A positive 9. Negative 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times, is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 1 is a positive 8. All divided by 4. And then finally, to state our answer, we have We're going to add that 9 plus 8. We have 3 plus or minus the square root of 17 divided by 4. So you always want to check to make sure, can you break this down? Can you make a factor tree for this and simplify any further? No, you can't. Can you simplify this 1, this 3, and this 4? And no, we can't. So this is our final answer here. That's our solution. Number 10, state the discriminant below and state what it does. So the discriminant is this part of the quadratic here. B squared minus 4 times A times C. Okay, and again, we just pulled it right out of here, out of the quadratic formula. So it is used to find, a couple words for this here. It's used to find the X intercepts. It's also called zeros. Solution. Main one that we want you to use is used to find X intercepts. So when we do find this solution here, if the discriminant is positive, then we have 2 X intercepts. And if we look at this number 9 solution here, that is actually a positive solution. So we do have 2 X intercepts there. And when we find that, we would do 3 plus square root 17 divided by 4. And then we have 3 minus square root 17 divided by 4. Put that in a calculator, you get your 2 solutions there. Moving on. So if the discriminant is negative, then you have no solution. Or no X-intercepts. Then if the discriminant is equal to 0, then we have 1 solution or 1 X-intercept.